Chapter 1. The Vanishing. The Alpha King's howl shattered every window in the castle. Glass rained down like frozen tears as Theron tore through Alara's empty chamber, his claws shredding curtains, splintering furniture, destroying everything that still held her fading scent. Gone. She was gone. And with her, something vital had been ripped from his chest. The mark on his shoulder blade, the one he'd ignored for 6 months, the one that burned hotter each day, now felt like molten silver poured directly into his spine. Find her. His voice was barely recognizable, guttural, broken. Search every village, every forest, every God's damned hole in this kingdom. His beta, Marcus, stood frozen in the doorway. In 20 years of service, he had never seen his king like this. Feral, unhinged, desperate. My lord, the wedding is in 3 days. Lady Lysara? I don't care about Lysara. Theron's amber eyes blazed with something beyond rage. I don't care about treaties or alliances or the council's demands. Find her. Marcus swallowed hard. Who, my lord? Alara. The name hung in the air like a curse. The healer girl, the nobody from the servants' quarters, the woman the king had kept hidden in shadows and stolen moments for half a year, the woman who had vanished 3 months ago without a trace. We've searched before, my lord. She's... Then search again. Theron's hand shot out, gripping Marcus by the throat, lifting him off his feet. Because I can feel her, through this cursed mark that won't fade, through this bond I tried to bury. She's alive, Marcus, and she's in pain. He released his beta, turning back to the window where snow fell in silent accusation. Something's wrong, Theron whispered. Something happened to me that night. The ceremony. I remember choosing Lysara, but it's like watching someone else move my body, speaking with someone else's voice. His fingers traced the mark on his shoulder, the mate bond he'd discovered too late, the one that should have disappeared when he rejected her. But it hadn't disappeared. It had grown stronger, darker, angrier. The High Elder, Marcus said slowly. He gave you wine before the ceremony. For clarity, he said. Theron's head snapped around. What? Ancient tradition. To help the king make the right choice for the realm. For the first time in 3 months, something besides grief flooded Theron's veins. Rage. Pure, focused, kingdom-burning rage. Bring me the High Elder, he said quietly. Now. Meanwhile, 200 miles south in Thornwick, Alara's scream tore through the cottage. The village midwife, old Marta, pressed a cool cloth to her forehead. Breathe, child, just breathe. Something's wrong. Alara gasped, her hands clutching her swollen belly. They're coming too early. It's too soon. Another contraction ripped through her, and with it, the mark on her hip blazed white-hot. She could feel him. God's help her. After 3 months of silence, she could suddenly feel Theron through their bond. His rage, his desperation, his absolute certainty that she was alive. No, she whispered. No, 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 he can't find me. Not now, not like this. Who can't find you? Marta asked, but Alara was beyond answering, because the babies were coming. And in the distance she heard the sound that made her blood run cold. Hoofbeats, dozens of them. The king's guard had reached Thornwick. Alara looked at Marta with wild, terrified eyes. You have to hide me. Please, if they find me, if he finds me... Who are you? Marta breathed, finally understanding. Who are you really? But Alara's answer was lost in another scream as her body betrayed her, as her wolf clawed to the surface, as the mate bond she'd tried so hard to sever suddenly snapped, taut like a rope around her throat, pulling her back toward the man who'd destroyed her, the man who was tearing the kingdom apart to find her, the man who had no idea he was about to become a father. Outside, the guards began their house-to-house search. And in the capital, Theron stood over the High Elder's broken body, magic-suppressing chains in his hands, demanding the truth about what had been done to him. How about why he couldn't remember the most important night of his life? About why he'd chosen politics over the woman whose soul was tangled with his own? The Elder smiled through bloody teeth. "You think you're the first king we've controlled? The bond would have made you weak. We did what was necessary." Theron's claws extended. "Then I'll do what's necessary too." The Elder's scream echoed through the castle. And 200 miles away, Ilara felt every second of his rage through their bond. Felt the exact moment Theron realized he'd been manipulated. Felt the exact moment he understood what he'd lost, what he'd thrown away. The door to her cottage splintered open. A guard stood silhouetted against the snow, and Ilara's water broke. Yeah, and if you're already feeling what Ilara's feeling, that desperate pull between running and hoping, then you understand why this story isn't just entertainment. It's every moment you've ever loved someone who couldn't choose you. Every time you've had to choose yourself instead. Drop a comment. Would you run or stay? Because your answer says everything about who you are. And if someone you know has ever had to disappear to survive, share this with them. Some stories need to be witnessed. Chapter 2. Blood and Birth. The guard's eyes swept the cottage. One room, one bed, one terrified woman in labor. "Name," he barked. Marta stepped between them. "She's Wren, a widow. She's been here since—" "I wasn't asking you, old woman." His gaze locked on Ilara. "The king seeks a healer, dark hair, green eyes." "About your age." Ilara bit down on her lip until she tasted copper. The contraction was building again, her wolf howling inside her ribcage, the babies pressing down with impossible pressure. "Not now. Please, not now. I'm a seamstress," she managed, "not a healer." Lie. The guard took a step closer. His nostrils flared. He was scenting her. "You smell like—" His eyes widened. "You're in labor." "Brilliant observation," Marta snapped. "Now get out before—" "How far along?" The question hung like a blade. Ilara's mind raced. If she said 9 months, he'd know the timing was impossible. If she said 6, he'd wonder why she was so large. 7 months, she whispered. "Twins, they're coming early." The guard's hand moved to his sword. "The king's mate disappeared 3 months ago. Pregnant, some say." Ilara's heart stopped. "I don't know anything about the king's mate," she said through gritted teeth. "I'm nobody, just a widow trying to survive." Another contraction slammed into her. This time, she couldn't stop the scream, and with it, her wolf surged forward. Just for a second, just enough that her eyes flashed gold in the firelight. The guard saw it. His sword rang free. "You're her." "No. The king has been searching for months, destroying villages, executing nobles who lie to him, and you've been here the whole time." His smile was cruel. "The reward alone could—" He never finished the sentence, because Marta drove an iron poker through his throat. The guard collapsed, blood pooling beneath him, his eyes wide with shock. "Marta!" Ilara gasped. "What have you done?" "Saved your life." The old woman dropped the poker, her hands shaking. "Well, now we have minutes before the others notice he's missing." "I can't run. The babies—" "Then we deliver them. Now, fast." Ilara wanted to argue, wanted to say it was impossible, but her body was already bearing down, already forcing the first child into the world, whether she was ready or not. At the castle, Theron stood in the war room, blood still wet on his hands. The High Elder was dead. The council was in chains, and the truth was a poison spreading through his veins. "They drugged you," Marcus reported, holding up a vial of dark liquid. "Moonsbane extract, mixed with compulsion root. It doesn't just cloud judgment, it severs free will entirely." Theron's claws dug into the map table. "How long?" The effects last 6 to 8 hours, long enough for the ceremony. Long enough for you to choose Lysara and send Ilara away without remembering why you wanted to stop. I felt the bond that night, Theron whispered. I felt her mark burning on my shoulder, and I ignored it. I thought it was just guilt. You were being controlled, my lord. It doesn't matter. His voice cracked. She doesn't know that. She thinks I chose politics over her, chose power over love. She's been alone for 3 months, carrying my... He stopped. The mark on his shoulder suddenly flared with white-hot agony, and through the bond, through that golden thread he'd finally stopped fighting, he felt it. Pain, terror, and something else. New life entering the world. She's giving birth, he breathed. Right now. I can feel it. Marcus grabbed his king's arm. Where? Theron closed his eyes, following the bond south. South. And always south, until it led him to a small village he'd never heard of. Thornwick, he said. Saddle my horse. Now. My lord, it's a 3-day ride. Then I'll kill the horse getting there in 2. Theron's eyes blazed. She's in danger, Marcus. I can feel her fear. Someone found her. He was already moving, already shouting orders, already shifting into the massive black wolf that could cross kingdoms faster than any horse. Behind him, Marcus called out, "What about Lady Lysara? The wedding?" Theron's answering howl shook the stones. There would be no wedding. There had only ever been one woman, one mate, one bond that not even magic could truly sever, and he was coming for her, back in Thornwick. "Push!" Marta commanded. Ilara screamed, her fingers clawing at the sheets, her wolf trying to break free to protect the babies she could feel crowning. The first child slipped into Marta's waiting hands, a boy, tiny, perfect, already whimpering with the strength of an alpha's son. "One more," Marta said, wrapping him quickly. "I can see the second." The cottage door exploded inward. 3 more guards stood in the entrance, swords drawn, eyes fixed on the dead man bleeding out on the floor. "What happened here?" the captain demanded. Marta stepped in front of Ilara. "He attacked us. We defended ourselves." "She's the one." Another guard pointed at Ilara. "Look at her eyes. She's the king's..." The second baby crowned. Ilara bore down with everything she had, her scream mixing with her wolf's howl, the sound so primal that the guards actually stepped back. A girl. The second child was a girl. Marta caught her. But there was no time to cut the cord, no time to clean them, because the captain was advancing with chains meant to bind a wolf. "You're coming with us," he said. "The king wants you alive." "The king," Ilara panted, "can go to hell." Her eyes flashed pure gold. And for the first time in 3 months, she stopped running from what she was. The mate bond thrummed with power. She could feel Theron racing toward her, could feel his desperate need, his crushing guilt, his absolute certainty that he would tear apart anyone who touched her. But he was still 2 days away, and she had 2 newborns to protect. So Ilara did what any mother would do. She shifted. Her bones cracked and reformed. Her wolf burst free, larger than it should be, stronger than it had ever been, or fed by 3 months of grief and rage and the primal need to protect her young. The guards scrambled backward, because the small, broken healer girl was gone. In her place stood a silver wolf with eyes like emerald fire. A Luna. Not chosen by politics or councils or treaties. Chosen by the bond itself. Marta grabbed the babies and ran, and Ilara lunged. 200 miles north, Theron felt the exact moment she shifted, felt her power surge through their bond like lightning, felt her rage mirror his own. "Faster!" he snarled at the wolves running beside him. "She's fighting!" The bond showed him flashes, guards with swords, her children crying, blood on snow, her fear transforming into fury. "I'm coming!" he sent through the bond, praying she could feel it. "Hold on, I'm coming!" But he was too far, and in Thornwick, seeing Alara stood over the bodies of 3 guards, her muzzle red, her chest heaving, her wolf screaming victory. She'd won. She'd protected them. But more would come. They always did. Marta appeared with the babies bundled in her arms. "We have to go, now, before what?" The voice came from the doorway. A woman stepped into the cottage, beautiful, cold, wearing the colors of House Vanthorn, Lysara, the chosen queen. "So," she said softly, "you're the whore who's been haunting my future husband." Alara shifted back to human form, naked and bloody and trembling, but she didn't back down. "I'm his mate," she said, "the real one, not some political consolation prize." Lysara's smile was ice, and yet he chose me. He was drugged, controlled. He didn't... Does it matter? Lysara's eyes gleamed. He still said my name, still took my hand, still let you run away without a single word of protest. Each word was a knife. Each word found its mark. "But I'm not here to fight over scraps," Lysara continued. "I'm here to offer you a deal. I'm not interested in your children for your freedom." The world stopped. Alara's wolf snarled. "What? Give me the twins. I'll raise them as my own. The king gets his heirs. You get to disappear and live whatever pathetic life you choose. Everyone wins." "You're insane." "I'm practical." Lysara stepped closer. "Theron is coming for you. You can feel it, can't you? Through that bond you're so proud of. He'll be here in 2 days, and when he arrives, he'll take you back to the capital, back to a court that will never accept you, back to a life where you're always the servant who got lucky." Alara's hands clenched. "He loves me." "Maybe. But love doesn't change bloodlines. It doesn't erase the fact that you're nobody." Lysara's voice dropped to a whisper. "Give me the children. Let me give them the life they deserve, and spare yourself the humiliation of watching Theron try to make you into something you'll never be." For one terrible moment, Alara almost believed her, almost thought it would be easier to run, to let the twins grow up as royalty without her, to spare them the shame of a mother with no name, no title, no power. Then the girl, her daughter, made a small sound, and Alara remembered. She wasn't nobody. She was their mother. She was Theron's true mate, and she was done running. "Get out," Alara said quietly, "before I tear your throat out." Lysara's smile faded. "You'll regret this." "Maybe, but they'll be mine to regret." The future queen turned and left. But her final words hung in the air like a curse. "He's coming for you, little Luna, and when he gets here, I wonder which will hurt more, the reunion or realizing that love alone was never going to be enough." She protected her babies. She rejected the easy way out. She chose the hardest path, fighting for a love everyone says is doomed. Comment below, Team Alara or Team Lysara, because this choice defines whether you believe love can actually conquer kingdoms, or if some gaps are too wide to bridge. Your answer reveals everything about your own scars. Share this with someone who's ever had to choose between safety and truth. They need to know they're not alone in that impossible decision. Chapter 3. The King's Arrival. Theron smelled the blood before he saw the village. Human. Wolf. And underneath it all, her scent. Alara. And he'd been running for 36 hours straight, pushing his wolf beyond endurance, beyond reason, beyond anything except the golden thread of their bond pulling him south. 3 horses had died beneath him. His guards couldn't keep pace. He'd left Marcus somewhere in the northern territories with orders to follow with reinforcements. None of it mattered, because she was close. So close he could feel her heartbeat syncing with his own. Thornwick appeared through the morning mist, a collection of cottages huddled against the forest, smoke rising from chimneys, completely unaware that their world was about to shatter. Theron shifted mid-stride, landing human and naked in the village square. An old woman dropped her water bucket. A blacksmith stumbled backward. "The king," someone whispered. Theron's eyes scanned the crowd, more wild and desperate. "Where is she?" Silence. "The healer!" His voice cracked. Dark hair, green eyes, she would have arrived 3 months ago. "The cottage." A young girl pointed toward the forest edge. "But my lord, there was trouble last night. Guards came and—" Theron was already running. The bond guided him like a compass, growing stronger with each step until he could feel her emotions bleeding into his own. Fear, exhaustion, fierce protectiveness, and underneath it all, love. Gods help him. She still loved him, even after everything, even after he'd destroyed her. The cottage door hung broken on its hinges, blood stained the snow, and inside, Theron froze. Alara sat in a rocking chair, a bundle in each arm, her dark hair falling around her shoulders like a curtain. She looked up. Their eyes met, and the bond between them exploded. Every wall Theron had built, every lie he'd told himself, every moment he'd pretended he could live without her, it all shattered. The mark on his shoulder blazed white-hot. Alara gasped, her hand flying to her hip where her own mark burned in response. "Theron," she breathed. He took a step forward, stopped. His hands were shaking. "I was drugged," he said. The words tumbled out desperate and broken. "The ceremony. The elder gave me something that took away my choice. I didn't choose Lysara. I would never choose anyone but you. I swear on my life, Alara. I swear on everything sacred." "I know." 2 words. Soft. Sure. Devastating. Theron's knees nearly buckled. "You... know?" "I felt it." Her eyes glistened. "Through the bond, 2 days ago. Your rage when you found out. Your guilt. Your..." Her voice broke. "Your love. I felt all of it." "Then why didn't you..." "Because feeling it doesn't erase what I went through." A tear slipped down her cheek. 3 months, Theron. 3 months I thought you chose power over me. 3 months I carried your children alone, believing I meant nothing to you. You mean everything. Now. You feel that now. But what happens when we go back? When the council demands you honor the engagement to Lysara? When every noble in the kingdom reminds you that I'm just a servant, with no name, no title, no right to stand beside a king? Theron crossed the room in 2 strides. He dropped to his knees before her. "Then I'll burn the kingdom to ash," he said quietly. "I'll execute every council member. I'll destroy every noble house that questions you. I'll tear down every tradition that says you're not worthy." His hand reached out. I'm trembling, to touch one of the bundles. A tiny fist emerged. Theron's breath caught. "A boy," Alara whispered, "and a girl, born 2 nights ago while you were still searching." "I felt it." His voice was raw. "I felt them come into the world, felt your pain, your fear, and I wasn't here to protect you. You're here now. I'm so sorry." The Alpha King of Valdren, the most powerful wolf in 7 kingdoms, broke. "I'm so sorry, Alara, for everything, for failing you, for not fighting harder against the council, for not recognizing our bond sooner, for..." She leaned forward and kissed him, soft, gentle, forgiving. The bond between them surged, completing in a way it never had before. Golden light filled the cottage. The marks on their skin blazed and then settled, no longer burning with pain but warm with recognition. Chosen, claimed, and complete. When they broke apart, Theron rested his forehead against hers. "Come home with me," he whispered. "Be my queen, my mate, my everything." "Your court will never accept me. Then I'll find a new court. Lysara will fight this. Let her try." His eyes hardened. She was part of the conspiracy. The Elder, the Council, House Vanthorn, they all knew about the drugs. They all knew what they were doing to us. Alara pulled back. "She was here, last night. She offered to take the babies, raise them as her own so I could disappear. Theron's growl shook the cottage. She what? I refused, obviously. But Theron... Alara's eyes met his. She's right about one thing. The babies deserve legitimacy, a future, and I can't give them that, not as I am. Then we change what you are. He stood, cradling his daughter with a gentleness that belied his earlier rage. The Luna ceremony, he said. It's ancient, older than councils or politics. The king's true mate, recognized by the bond itself, can be crowned regardless of bloodline. No one's performed that ceremony in centuries, because no king has had a true mate in centuries. Most royal marriages are political, but ours... He looked at her with such intensity she felt it in her bones. Ours is real. The bond proves it, and bond law supersedes council law. Hope flickered in Alara's chest. Dangerous, foolish hope. You really think we can do this? I think, Theron said, that I've already lost you once. I won't survive losing you again. So yes, we'll do this. Together. A throat cleared from the doorway. Marta stood there, face pale. My lord, there are soldiers surrounding the village. Hundreds of them. They're wearing House Van Thorn colors. Theron's expression went cold. How long? They arrived an hour ago. Their commander demands you surrender the woman and children, claims they're his by right of your engagement to Lady Lysara. His name. Commander Kyle, Lysara's brother. Of course. Lysara hadn't come alone last night. She'd brought an army, and now she was forcing Theron's hand. Surrender Alara and the twins, or watch an entire village burn. Theron handed his daughter back to Alara and walked to the window. Outside, warriors in silver and blue surrounded Thornwick, archers on rooftops, cavalry blocking every road. Kale stood at their center, smug and certain. My lord, the commander called out, by order of the council and House Van Thorn, you are commanded to relinquish the servant girl and her bastards. Return to the capital and honor your engagement to... No. Theron's voice carried across the village square. Kyle blinked. I'm sorry? I said no. Theron stepped out of the cottage, naked and unashamed, every inch the Alpha King. Alara is my true mate, chosen by the bond itself. Those children are my legitimate heirs, and if you want them, you'll have to go through me. My lord, be reasonable. You're outnumbered 50 to 1. I don't need numbers. Theron's eyes flashed gold. His power rolled out like a physical force, pressing down on every wolf in the square. Alpha command, pure, undeniable, absolute. Lesser wolves dropped to their knees. Even Kyle stumbled, his wolf whimpering in submission. I am your king, Theron said quietly. Now, not because of bloodlines or councils or political marriages, because my wolf is stronger. My will is unbreakable, and any wolf who challenges that dies. The council won't accept this, Kale managed. The council is dead. I executed them for treason. Theron smiled without humor. You want to be next? Silence. Then slowly Kyle's hand moved to his sword. Lysara warned me you'd be compromised by your bond, that you'd sacrifice the kingdom for one woman. She's not just one woman. Theron's claws extended. She's my Luna, and I'll burn the world to keep her safe. Then you're no better than a feral beast. Maybe not, but I'm still your king. Theron shifted. His wolf was massive, black as midnight, eyes burning like amber flames, radiating power that made the earth tremble. Kale drew his sword. The battle lasted 3 minutes. Or it wasn't even close. Theron tore through the Van Thorn warriors like they were paper, his rage given form, his need to protect Alara and their children overriding every tactical thought. He didn't kill them all, just enough to make his point. When he shifted back, blood dripped from his hands. Kyle lay unconscious at his feet. The surviving warriors had fled, and the villagers of Thornwick stared at their king with something between awe and terror. Theron walked back to the cottage. Alara stood in the doorway, the twins still in her arms, tears streaming down her face. "Is it over?" she whispered. "No." He pulled her close, careful of the babies between them. Lysara will retaliate. House Vanthorn will demand justice. The other noble houses will see this as weakness. We've just started a war. Then maybe I should... Don't. His grip tightened. Don't you dare suggest leaving again. We face this together, as mates, as equals, as the family we were always meant to be. Alara looked up at him, at this man who'd torn apart an army for her, who'd defied kingdoms and traditions and politics, who'd chosen her, finally and completely, no matter the cost. Together, she agreed. Behind them, Marcus arrived with reinforcements, taking in the carnage with wide eyes. "My lord," he said carefully, "what are your orders?" Theron's answer was simple. "We go home. We perform the Luna ceremony, and we prepare for House Vanthorn to declare war." He looked at Alara, at the babies they'd created, at the future they'd fight for. "Let them come," he said softly. "I've already lost her once. I won't make that mistake again." The mark on his shoulder pulsed warm and steady, complete at last. But outside the village, a raven took flight, black wings against gray sky, carrying a message north to a woman scorned, to a house dishonored, to a war that would reshape the kingdom. Lysara received the news in her chambers. Commander Kyle defeated, warriors scattered, the king claiming his servant as Luna. She crumpled the letter slowly, then smiled. "So be it," she whispered. "If he wants war, I'll give him war, and when I'm done, that little healer will wish she'd taken my offer." She pulled out a different letter, sealed with wax the color of old blood. An alliance she'd been saving for exactly this moment, with forces even an Alpha King couldn't stop. "Enjoy your victory, Theron," Lysara said to the empty room. It won't last. He chose her. In front of an army, in front of witnesses, in front of the entire kingdom, he chose her. But love that costs nothing is worth nothing. And the price they're about to pay, it's just beginning. Comment, would you start a war for love? Because your answer reveals whether you've ever loved someone worth burning for. Share this with someone who understands that some loves are worth fighting for, that some bonds can't be broken no matter what the world demands. Chapter 4. The Luna Trials. The Grand Temple hadn't been opened in 300 years. Ilara stood before its massive doors, the twins sleeping in a cradle behind her, while half the kingdom watched from the courtyard below. This was it. The Luna ceremony. Her chance to become something more than a servant who got lucky. Or her chance to fail in front of everyone who already believed she would. "You don't have to do this," Theron whispered beside her. "We can find another way." "There is no other way." Alara's hands trembled. "Not if we want our children to be legitimate. Not if we want this bond to mean anything beyond our feelings." The ancient texts were clear. A true Luna, one chosen by the bond, not politics, had to prove herself worthy through 3 trials: strength, wisdom, sacrifice. Pass, and she'd be crowned with authority even councils couldn't challenge. Fail, and the bond itself would break. Permanently. "I can't lose you again," Theron said, his voice raw. "You won't." Alara touched the mark on her hip, feeling its warmth. "This bond survived your rejection, survived 3 months apart, survived manipulation in armies. It can survive this," she hoped. The temple doors groaned open. Inside, torches flickered to life on their own, revealing a circular chamber carved with wolves in various stages of transformation. At its center stood an old woman. Not old, ancient. Her eyes were white with cataracts, but somehow Alara knew she could see everything. The last Luna candidate, the woman said, her voice like grinding stone. 3 centuries since anyone dared these trials. 3 centuries since any king claimed a mate by bond instead of breeding. I'm ready, Alara said, sounding braver than she felt. The ancient woman smiled. Are you? The trials don't test what you think they test, child. They don't care about your power or your cleverness. They care about what you'll give up to wear the crown. I'll give up anything. We'll see. The woman raised her hand. The floor beneath Alara's feet cracked open. She fell. Trial 1. Strength. Alara hit the ground hard, rolling to absorb the impact. She was in a forest. Not real. The trees shimmered at the edges, and the sky was too dark, too close. Illusion. Magic. Some combination of both. To be Luna, a voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. You must be strong enough to protect your pack. Movement in the shadows. Alara's wolf surged to the surface as 3 massive shapes emerged from the trees. Rogues. Their eyes were red with bloodlust, foam dripping from their jaws, muscles rippling with unnatural strength. They'd been broken by pain until only violence remained, and they were charging straight at her. Alara shifted, and her silver wolf met the first rogue head-on, teeth flashing, claws tearing. She was fast, faster than she'd been before the twins, before the bond completed. But the rogues were faster. One caught her flank, tearing flesh. Another lunged for her throat. Alara twisted, snarling, using every trick she'd learned surviving on the streets before Theron found her. Fight dirty, fight smart, fight to survive. She went for the eyes, the throat, the soft belly. The first rogue went down howling, the second hesitated, and the third spoke. You're weak, it said in a voice she knew. Her father's voice, the man who'd abandoned her as a child. You've always been weak, a servant pretending to be something more. You think you can protect royal children? You can't even protect yourself. Alara froze. It was just an illusion. Just magic pulling out her worst fears. But the words hit like claws. The rogue lunged. Alara barely dodged, its teeth grazing her shoulder. You'll fail them, her father's voice continued, just like you failed everyone else who believed in you, just like you'll fail Theron when the real threats come. No. Alara's growl rumbled through the forest. I'm not that scared little girl anymore. She shifted back to human, standing naked and bleeding in the moonlight. I don't need to be the strongest, she said to the illusion wearing her father's face. I just need to be strong enough to refuse to give up. The rogue charged. Alara didn't move. At the last second, she dropped to her knees, and the rogue sailed over her head, slamming into a tree that suddenly materialized behind her. The forest shattered like glass. Alara was back in the temple, breathing hard, blood real on her skin. The ancient woman nodded. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about standing back up. Trial 1 complete. 2 more to go. Trial 2, wisdom. The chamber shifted. Suddenly, Alara stood in a throne room. Theron sat on his throne, but something was wrong. His eyes were empty, distant, just like they'd been the night he chose Lysara. My queen, he said formally, the council has brought a petition. Council? Alara had thought they were dead, but there they stood. Different faces, same hungry eyes, same political calculations. The children, one elder said, they carry the king's blood, but also yours. Common blood, weak blood. For the good of the realm, we propose they be raised by noble families, trained properly. A maid worthy of... No. Alara's voice cracked like a whip. My lady, another council member said smoothly, surely you see reason. You love them, yes, but love isn't enough. They need education, training, connections that only... They need their mother. A mother who was a servant 3 months ago? The elder smiled. A mother with no knowledge of politics, warfare, diplomacy, you doom them to failure out of sentiment. Theron said nothing, just watched with those empty eyes. This is a test, Alara said slowly. You're not real. Does it matter? The elder leaned forward. Real or not, the question stands. What kind of Luna puts her own needs before the realm's? What kind of mother dooms her children to weakness because she can't bear to let them go? Alara looked at Theron. Tell them they're wrong. He said nothing. Aye, Theron. The council makes valid points, he said in that flat, terrible voice. Perhaps, no. Alara turned back to the elders. You want to know what wisdom is? It's not doing what's easy or what looks right. It's knowing that my children don't need perfection. They need love. They need a mother who fought for them, who bled for them, who refused to give them up even when everyone said she should. She stepped forward. You can teach them politics. You can train them in warfare. But you can't teach them what it means to be loved unconditionally. And that's what makes a true leader. Not bloodlines, not connections. Love. The elders began to laugh. Foolish girl. Love brought me through 3 months alone and pregnant. Love brought Theron across a kingdom to find me. Love made him fight an army to keep us safe. Alara's eyes blazed. You want to talk about strength, about wisdom? Love is both. And if this kingdom can't see that, then maybe it doesn't deserve my children at all. The throne room shattered. Alara was back in the temple. The ancient woman was smiling. Wisdom is knowing what truly matters. Trial 2 complete. One more, trial 3, sacrifice. The final trial was simple and terrible. Alara stood in an empty room. Before her, 2 pedestals. On one, a crown of silver and moonstone, the Luna crown. On the other, a small bundle, moving, whimpering, her daughter. The final trial, the ancient woman said, is always the same. What will you sacrifice to become Luna? This isn't real. Alara's voice shook. She's safe. She's with Theron. This is just an illusion, yes, but the choice is real. The woman's white eyes seemed to pierce through her. Take the crown and you'll have power, authority, the ability to protect your mate, your pack, your future children. But this child, the one before you now, will die. The magic demands balance. Life for power. No. Or, the woman continued, save the child. Walk away from the crown. Remain what you are. A servant with a bond but no authority. Your children will be bastards forever. Your mate will have to choose between you and his kingdom, and eventually that choice will destroy you both. Alara stared at the pedestals. Crown or child, power or love, the future or the present. Every Luna before you chose the crown, the woman whispered. They understood that one life, even their own child's life, was worth sacrificing for the good of the many. And that's what it means to be a leader, to make the hard choices. Alara walked forward. Her hand reached out, trembling, hovering between the 2 pedestals. Behind her, she heard Theron's voice. Not real, just an echo of memory. You're my everything. She heard her son's first cry, felt her daughter's tiny hand grip her finger, remembered 3 months of believing she meant nothing, 3 months of choosing to survive for them, always for them. No, Alara said quietly. She picked up her daughter. The baby's illusion was perfect. Warm weight, milk-sweet smell, absolute trust in her eyes. I won't sacrifice my children for power, Alara said, holding her close. Not now, not ever. If that makes me unworthy of the crown, so be it. But I'll be worthy of being their mother. And maybe... Her voice broke. Maybe that's enough. Silence. And the ancient woman stared at her, then began to laugh. 300 years, she wheezed. 300 years of candidates who chose the crown without hesitation. 300 years of Lunas who started their reign with blood on their hands. And you, she wiped tears from her blind eyes, you're the first one who passed. Alara blinked. What? The trial isn't about whether you'll sacrifice your children for power, child. It's about whether you understand that real power comes from love, not crowns. The woman touched Alara's forehead. The Luna who values her children over her crown is the only Luna worthy of wearing both. The illusion shattered. Alara stood in the temple, both twins safe in their cradle, Theron beside her looking desperate, and the ancient woman held out the real crown. You passed, she said simply. Are all 3 trials. You're strong enough to stand back up, wise enough to know what matters, and willing to sacrifice power itself for love. She placed the crown on Alara's head. I pronounce you Luna of Valdren. Not by bloodline, not by politics, by the bond that chose you and the trials that proved you worthy. The crown flared with silver light. Alara gasped as power flooded through her, not magical power, but authority, the kind that made wolves bow, the kind that couldn't be challenged or taken away. She looked at Theron. He was staring at her like he was seeing her for the first time. His Luna, his equal, his queen. It's done, he breathed. The ancient woman nodded. The bond is complete. The Luna is crowned. Now comes the hard part. What hard part? Alara asked. I passed. We're official. The children are legitimate. What else? Surviving what comes next. The temple doors burst open. Marcus stood there, blood on his armor, face pale. My lord, he gasped. My lady. It's House Vanthorn. They've allied with the eastern clans. 30,000 warriors march on the capital. They're calling for the Luna's head and the children's death. They're calling for your abdication. Theron's hand found Ilara's. When? They'll be here by dawn. Theron looked at his newly crowned Luna, at their sleeping children, at the future they'd fought so hard to claim. Then we have until dawn to prepare, he said quietly. Marcus, call every loyal house, every warrior who still honors the bond law, every wolf who believes love is stronger than politics. My lord, even with all our forces, we'll be outnumbered 3-1. I don't care. Theron's eyes blazed. I've already lost her once to manipulation. I won't lose her to war. Ilara squeezed his hand. You won't lose me, she said. We fight together, as mates, as equals, as king and Luna. Theron agreed. The ancient woman watched them leave, the twins in Ilara's arms, destiny unfolding exactly as the bonds had always intended. Finally, she whispered to the empty temple, a love worth fighting for. Let's see if it's a love worth dying for, too. Outside, the first horns of war sounded across the valley, and in her northern stronghold, Lysara smiled, because she hadn't just brought warriors. She'd brought something worse, something that would test not just Ilara's strength or wisdom, but whether love could truly survive when the cost became unbearable. Bring me the witch, she commanded, the one who deals in bonds. And if I can't have Theron's love, I'll make sure no one can, not even his precious Luna. The game had changed, and the price of victory had just become everything. She passed the trials by refusing to play the game. She became Luna by choosing love over power. But now the real test begins, because kingdoms don't fall quietly, and scorned nobles don't forgive easily. Comment. Would you fight a war you can't win for a love you can't lose? Your answer reveals whether you've ever had something worth dying for. Share this with someone who knows that some crowns are earned with tears, not gold, that some loves cost everything and are still worth it. Chapter 5. When Love Burns Kingdoms. Finale. Dawn broke red over Valdren, blood red, like the sky itself knew what was coming. Alara stood on the castle ramparts, wore the Luna crown cold against her forehead, watching 30,000 warriors arrange themselves across the valley like pieces on a war board. Behind her, Theron commanded their forces, 8,000 loyal wolves, against an army nearly 4 times their size. "We can still run," Marcus said quietly beside her. "Take the twins. Disappear into the eastern territories. Let Lysara have the kingdom." "And spend our lives hiding?" Alara shook her head. "Running from shadows? Waiting for the day they find us? No, we end this. Today. We might all end today. Then we end it together." Theron appeared at her side, his armor dark as midnight, his eyes burning with the same fire that had led him across a kingdom to find her. "They're offering terms," he said. "What terms?" "You step down as Luna. The children are given to House Vanthorn to raise. I marry Lysara within the month." His jaw clenched. "In exchange, they'll let you live, exiled but alive." Alara laughed. It was a broken, bitter sound. "They really think I'd agree to that? They think you love me enough to sacrifice yourself, to spare the kingdom this war." Theron turned to face her. "Are they right? Do you want me to? I want you to live." His voice cracked. "Even if it means living without me, even if it means watching another woman raise our children. I want you alive, Alara, because I can't survive in a world where you don't exist." She touched his face. "Then you understand why I can't accept their terms. Because I can't survive in a world where our children grow up thinking their mother abandoned them, where you're forced into a loveless marriage, where everything we fought for was for nothing. Even if we all die, even then." She kissed him, soft and devastating. "Some loves are worth dying for, Theron. Ours is one of them." The war horns sounded. The battle had begun. The battlefield was chaos. Wolves tearing into wolves, claws and teeth and blood turning the valley into a nightmare. Alara fought at Theron's side, her silver wolf moving like liquid mercury, protecting his flank while he carved through enemy lines. They were magnificent together, 2 halves of the same soul, fighting as one. But it wasn't enough. For every enemy they killed, 3 more took their place. House Vanthorn's forces were endless, and in the center of their army, Lysara watched with cold satisfaction. Beside her stood a woman in black robes, the witch. "Now," Lysara commanded. When the witch began to chant, dark magic pulsed across the battlefield like a wave, and suddenly Alara felt it. The bond, their beautiful, unbreakable bond. Someone was cutting it. "No!" She shifted back to human, clutching her hip where the mark burned like acid. "Theron!" 200 yards away, Theron collapsed. His wolf form flickered. The mark on his shoulder was turning black, rotting from the inside out. "What's happening?" Marcus dragged Alara behind their lines. "What's wrong with the king?" "The bond." Alara could barely breathe through the pain. "They're severing it. They're using dark magic to tear us apart." "Can they do that?" "I don't know. No one's ever tried." Tears streamed down her face. "I can feel him slipping away. Gods, I can feel the connection dying." She looked across the battlefield. Lysara was smiling. And the witch's chanting grew louder. Alara understood then. This was never about winning through warfare. It was about destroying the one thing that made them strong. Their bond. Without it, Theron would be lost, broken, empty, just another king making political choices instead of following his heart. And Alara would be nothing again, a servant, a nobody, a woman with no claim to the throne or the man she loved. "I have to stop her," Alara said. "You'll never reach the witch through those lines," Marcus argued. "It's suicide." "Then it's suicide." She shifted and ran, straight into the heart of the enemy army. Wolves lunged for her. She dodged, twisted, fought with everything she had. The mark on her hip was agony now, like someone was carving it out of her flesh with a dull blade. But she kept running, because love wasn't about avoiding pain. It was about running toward it when the person you loved was suffering. She broke through the lines. The witch turned, eyes widening. "You can't stop this," she hissed. "The spell is already in motion. By sunset, your bond will be ash. He'll forget he ever loved you. Then I'll make new memories." Alara lunged. The witch threw up a magical barrier. Alara slammed into it, crying out as power crackled across her skin. "Foolish girl, you're not a magic user. You can't—" But Alara wasn't trying to break the barrier with magic. She was breaking it with something stronger. Love. The bond might be dying, but it wasn't dead yet. And through that golden thread, she pulled on every moment she and Theron had shared, every kiss, every whispered promise. And every time he'd looked at her like she was his entire world, the barrier cracked. "Impossible," the witch breathed. "You don't understand," Alara said, her voice steady despite the pain. "Our bond wasn't created by magic. It can't be destroyed by it either. We chose each other. Magic didn't make that choice. We did." She drove her claws through the barrier. It shattered. The witch screamed as Alara's jaws closed around her throat. The chanting stopped. The dark magic dissipated. And across the battlefield, Theron surged back to his feet, the mark on his shoulder blazing gold. He could feel her again, feel her pain, her determination, her absolute refusal to let him go. "I'm here," he sent through the bond. "I'm coming." But Lysara was already moving. "If I can't have you," she snarled, drawing a poisoned blade. Then no one will." She charged at Alara, who was wounded, exhausted, barely standing after fighting through an army. The blade flashed toward her heart, and Theron appeared between them. The poison meant for his mate sank into his chest instead. Time stopped. Alara's scream tore through the valley. "No!" Theron collapsed into her arms, blood spreading across his armor, his breathing shallow. "Theron, no, please, stay with me." "Worth it," he whispered. His hand found hers. "You're worth it. Always were. Don't you dare die on me. Don't you dare—" "The twins." His voice was fading. "Protect them. Love them. Tell them. Tell them their father loved their mother more than kingdoms." "Theron?" His eyes fluttered closed. The bond went silent. Not severed, not destroyed, just quiet, like a heartbeat that had stopped. Alara looked up at Lysara through tears. "You killed him." "I freed him," Lysara spat. "From you, from this pathetic bond that made him weak. Now he'll—" She never finished, because Alara's wolf emerged. But this wasn't the silver wolf that had fought before. This was something else, something primal. A Luna who had just lost her mate. A mother protecting her children's future. A woman with absolutely nothing left to lose. The transformation was blinding. White light exploded from Alara's body as her wolf grew larger, more powerful, fed by grief and rage and love that refused to die even when its target did. She was magnificent, terrifying, a true Luna in all her devastating glory. Lysara tried to run. She didn't make it 3 steps. When Alara shifted back, Lysara lay dead at her feet. House Vanthorne's army saw their lady fall, and saw the Luna standing over her, crown still on her head, covered in blood and loss, and they did something unexpected. They knelt, all 30,000 of them. Because pack law was simple, the strongest wolf leads, and Alara had just proven she was strongest of all. Marcus appeared at her side. "My lady, the king." "Get a healer." Alara's voice was hollow. "Now." "My lady, the poison—" "I don't care what it is. Find someone who can save him. Find 10 people. Find 100. I don't care what it costs." She dropped to her knees beside Theron, pressed her hand to his wound, and reached down the bond that had gone so terrifyingly quiet. "Don't leave me," she begged. "Please. We just found each other. We just became whole. Don't you dare leave me alone." Nothing. Just silence. Alara bent over his body and wept. 3 days later. And the twins were crying. Alara rocked them both, singing a lullaby her own mother had once sung, trying not to let them hear the tears in her voice. Theron lay in their chambers, still breathing. Barely. The healers had done everything they could, removed the blade, drew out the poison, stitched the wound, but he wouldn't wake. The bond was still there. She could feel it, a faint golden thread in the darkness. But it was fading, a little more each day. "You have to let him go," Marcus said gently. "The kingdom needs a ruler. The Luna cannot—" "The Luna," Alara said quietly, "will rule alone if she must. But I won't give up on him, not while the bond still exists. What if it's not enough? What if love isn't—" "Love is all I have left." She set the twins in their cradle and returned to Theron's side, took his hand, went and did something desperate. She pressed her mark to his, hip to shoulder, skin to skin, and pushed everything she had down the bond, every memory, every moment, every piece of her soul that was tangled with his. "Remember?" she whispered. "Remember the first time you saw me. Remember the way I made you laugh. Remember the night you marked me and swore you'd never let me go." The bond flickered. "Remember our children being born. Remember fighting an army for us. Remember taking a blade meant for me because you couldn't imagine a world where I didn't exist." The flicker grew stronger. "Remember that I love you, that I chose you, that I will always, always choose you. And finally, remember that you promised we'd face everything together. So wake up, Theron. Wake up and face this with me." For a long moment, nothing happened. And then his fingers twitched, his eyes opened, gold met green, and the bond exploded back to life. "Alara," he breathed. She sobbed. "You came back. Always." He pulled her close despite his wounds. "I heard you, every word. I was trying to find my way back, and your voice. It was like a beacon. I thought I'd lost you. You can't lose me. We're bonded, mated, bound by something stronger than death." He kissed her forehead. "I love you, and love like ours doesn't end just because the world wants it to." Marcus cleared his throat from the doorway. "My lord, my lady, the kingdom awaits your command. What are your orders?" Theron looked at Alara, his Luna, his mate, his everything. "We rebuild," he said. "We take the houses that knelt and make them allies, and we show them that a kingdom built on love is stronger than one built on fear. And the houses that refuse, then they're free to leave." Theron's hand found Alara's. "I won't force loyalty, but I won't compromise on this either. She is my Luna. Our children are my heirs, and anyone who can't accept that can find a different kingdom to serve." "Yes, my lord." When Marcus left, Alara curled against Theron's side, careful of his injuries. "We did it," she whispered. "We actually did it. We survived. We won." "No." Theron tilted her face up. "We loved, and somehow, impossibly, that was enough." The twins began to cry again. Alara started to rise, but Theron held her back. "Let me," he said. She watched him walk to their children, still weak, still healing, but determined. Watched him lift their son in one arm and their daughter in the other. Watched him sing to them in a voice rough with emotion and pain and absolute devotion. And she understood. This was what they'd fought for, not crowns or kingdoms or political power. This, a family, a bond, a love that had survived manipulation, armies, dark magic, and death itself. "Tell me it gets easier," she said. Theron smiled. "It doesn't, but we'll face it together." Together. she agreed. Outside, the kingdom of Valdrin began to heal. Inside, a king and his Luna rocked their children to sleep, and the bond between them burned steady and true, gold like sunlight, unbreakable. Forever. Epilogue. 6 months later, the great hall had never been so full. Wolves from every corner of the realm had come to witness the official coronation. So not Theron's. He'd been king for years. But Alara's. Her second crowning. The one that made her Luna in the eyes of the people, not just the bond. She walked down the aisle in silver and white, the twins toddling beside her, already showing signs of their father's strength, their mother's determination. Theron waited at the altar, wearing his crown and his heart on his sleeve. When she reached him, he took her hand. "You ready for this?" he whispered. "Once they crown you here, there's no going back. You'll be mine in every way that matters." "I was always yours," she whispered back. "The bond chose us. We chose each other. This is just making it official." The high priestess, not the corrupt elder who'd tried to control them, but a woman chosen by the people, raised the Luna crown. "Though do you swear to protect this pack with all your strength?" "I do." "Do you swear to lead with wisdom and compassion?" "I do." "Do you swear to honor the bond that chose you, even when it costs you everything?" Alara looked at Theron, at the scars he still carried from taking a blade for her, at the love that had survived impossible odds. "I do." The crown settled on her head, and this time the entire kingdom erupted in celebration, because this wasn't a political marriage. This wasn't an alliance of convenience. This was a king and his Luna who had proven that love, real, messy, impossible love, could reshape kingdoms. Later, when the celebration had died down, Alara stood on the balcony with Theron. The twins were asleep. The kingdom was at peace, and the bond hummed between them, content. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Damn choosing me over the easy path?" "Every day," Theron said. She looked at him, startled. He smiled. "I regret that I didn't choose you sooner, that I wasted even a day trying to fight what we both knew was inevitable, that I let politics almost destroy the best thing that ever happened to me." "But you don't regret the choice itself?" "Never." He pulled her close. "You're my mate, my Luna, my home. I'd burn 1,000 kingdoms to keep you, and I'd make the same choice every single time." She kissed him, soft, sweet, whole. "Good," she whispered against his lips, "because I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "I promise." The mark on her hip pulsed warm. The mark on his shoulder answered. And somewhere in the castle, their children dreamed of a future where love was the strongest magic of all. Because it was, and always would be. And they didn't just survive, they thrived. They took a bond everyone said was doomed and used it to reshape an entire kingdom. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. This story isn't fiction. It's every person who's ever loved someone wrong and refused to apologize. Every couple who chose each other over what was expected. Every family built on love instead of logic. So here's my question. Are you Team Alara, willing to burn it all down for love? Or Team Lysera, believing power matters more than feelings? Comment which one. Because your answer reveals whether you've ever loved someone worth fighting for, or whether you're still waiting for permission to choose your own happiness. And if this story hit different, if you saw yourself in their struggle, share it. Yeah, because someone in your life needs to know that choosing love over logic isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing you can do. This is Kismet Romance Collection, where every story is a rebellion, where every bond is a revolution, where love doesn't just conquer, it transforms. Subscribe if you believe some loves are worth burning for. Hit the bell if you want more stories about people who refuse to settle, and comment below, what would you sacrifice for your soulmate? Because your answer, that's your next story.